Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Beat and Ask by Dr. Wealth. I'm Alvin, your host, and today I have with me Christopher Tan and Chuin Ting, both from MoneyOwl. Right, and MoneyOwl is a robo advisor that is serving the Singaporeans, right, to better manage their finances, right. And today we get to hear in more detail what MoneyOwl stands for and what kind of things they are trying to achieve, right, with this company. And I'll start off with the first question, right? What problem is MoneyOwl trying to solve?
Hi everyone, my name is Chuin Ting and I'm the CEO and CIO of MoneyOwl. Occasionally people also call me a founder, although I don't really like to use that term. There are several reasons for that. The main one being that MoneyOwl is not really like a startup in the traditional sense, whereby we have founders and VCs that come together to put the company together. So MoneyOwl, we're actually an NTUC social, and our two parents are NTUC Enterprise and Provident Holding, of which Christopher Tan is the founder. So Chris is the executive director of MoneyOwl, alongside being chairman of Provident Holding and also CEO of Provident. So that's just generally a very boring kind of topic to speak. But when MoneyOwl started about 2 years ago, and the thinking behind MoneyOwl started a little bit before that. Really, we are trying to address the advisory gap in the market and also the challenges with building wealth among ordinary working families, I would say. Yeah, and so what is this advisory gap? And that is the gap that we see in what we call our 3 C's, in comprehensive, competent, and conflict-free advice. So we see that in the mass market in particular, the lack of comprehensive, competent, and conflict-free advice. So by comprehensive, what we mean is that we're not just looking at investments, we're not just looking at insurance or concentrating on any of these, because every single dollar that you put in one area of your finance actually in another area, and we all have resources. By comprehensive, we also mean looking after your CPF and building your financial plan, especially retirement plan on CPF. When we first started, people say, what's the big deal? Because CPF, everyone uses for investments. But when we talk about comprehensive planning and integrating national schemes, it's much more than that. It's about using CPF foundation for retirement planning. Comprehensive also means not just about accumulation, also about withdrawal, because the topic that is not very well talked about in the financial advisory space, especially mass market. And I would also say that comprehensive means not just about financial goals, but life goals. And one of the things that MoneyOwl likes to talk about is that the finances are actually an enabler for your life. By competent, really it is we don't really talk about investment competence, but more like, and we have our views about how much you can beat the market and all that. But competence in all areas, especially in financial planning. So like our advisors actually the CFP program, and all of them are required to these businesses before they sign as client advisors. And in the competence area, I think our heritage of Provident is really where we inherit that best-in-class advice that has been built up, although in the affluent market, the team was conflict-free. Really is in being salary, having fully salary advisors who are not compensated on the basis of commissions. So in being comprehensive, competent, and conflict-free, I think you can find people who are one or two of these 3, but in the mass market to find advisors, that we found that there is this gap for those who are comprehensive as well as competent as well as free, and that's really the gap we're trying to solve. Very quickly, the challenges in building wealth for the mass market, besides the advice, actually how you actually help in implementing the advice. So in the delivery, therefore, everything is very important, and this is where our pilot model comes in, that we believe it has to be advice has been delivered and action has been supported in a way that is acceptable, and not having that the special elements that only a human advisor can bring across.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're saying that MoneyOwl exists because you guys saw a gap in the market, that financial planning is not done to ideal state, that you would like to see, right? And we also understand that, you know, when it comes to financial planning, most people they don't have the urgency to go and do it themselves, right? They don't wake up today, oh, today I'm going to buy insurance, today I should invest my money. So they always like procrastinate. And is it the reason why there's the structure of the advisory model is as such that you have more salespeople trying to push people to take care of their insurance, their investment? Is it because people are not so pressing in terms of this financial planning? That's why the model is as such.
I'll just give a quick answer, and then Chris can probably answer better from his experience. I'll just say anecdotally that when we first launched our comprehensive financial planning service, we had overwhelming demand, which actually surprised us because we thought that nobody even wants to do it, even if it's free, and that actually was proven wrong. So I think we do see an underlying need of comprehensive advice, but for some reason it's not. We did not know, or people did not seem to see there is a need for advice, or rather a demand for advice for products. So that's just from the sort of recent business point of view. I think Chris can add.
Yeah. Chris, how about?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right, Alvin. I mean, people don't wake up in the morning and then suddenly they think about doing financial planning. Actually, it's very difficult to do because generally speaking, I think when you talk about financial planning, you are asking people to have delayed gratification, right? To basically set aside what they can spend now for something that is so far down the road. And I don't even know whether I will get to enjoy it, right? So it's not a nice thing to do, financial planning, so-called nice thing to do. Although I think most of us actually, we realize the importance. I think most people, if you talk to them, they actually realize the importance of doing good financial planning. But to make matters worse, you have also hit the nail on the head. I think the industry, and I think I've said that 20 years ago, and I'll still say it today, that the industry doesn't make it easier. The industry doesn't make it easier because generally, I mean, like it or not, I mean, you go on social media, advisors fight it. Actually, if we are brutally honest with ourselves and you ask the consumers, they don't like the process of financial planning because financial planning is akin to buying products. Right? They go to a financial institution, they meet someone on the road, they get somebody that calls them and say, hey, I want to do financial planning. The first thing consumer think of is, no, don't call me. You are going to get me to buy more products. Right? So we don't make it easier. And it's sad because financial planning is not about buying products. Financial planning is about doing budgeting. Financial planning is about looking at your cash flow. Financial planning is about really sitting down, reflecting upon what are the things that you need, how much you need. I mean, we don't even talk about, you can actually do proper financial planning without even having to buy a single product. Yeah, so just to answer that question, it's not a fun thing to do. People delay it, and the industry doesn't make it easier.
Okay. So, but I guess people will start to think about it when the people around them start to have certain events happening, right? That then they realize, oh, I probably better get insured or I better invest and things like this. So it's not totally hopeless, I would say. Right? There will be opportunities.
But like you have correctly put, right? I mean, you speak to people and then you ask them, when is the last time you actually, or what is the trigger for financial planning, right? And they may say, when I have my first kid. And so then we ask them, so what is it that you think about when you're first kid? And the first thing they think about is, I think I need to buy insurance. So you realize that when people think about financial planning, the first thing they think of is also buying product. Right? It's like, I need to do my financial planning. Okay, I need to buy insurance. Right? So this is I think this is the real problem. Financial planning is equals to buying product, which is absolutely wrong.
Yeah. So how do you think MoneyOwl can change this?
Chuin, you want to go ahead before I talk about it?
Yeah. So to actually for MoneyOwl, we see advice as really a profession, right? In the same way that you have lawyers, you have doctors, and we always say that lawyers, doctors, actually professionals have a lot of role in providing comfort for people. And one of the things we like to say in MoneyOwl is that just as the doctors say that they heal or cure sometimes, they relieve most times, they comfort always. And for financial advice, we see it in that. First of all, be the looking after the interests of the client and helping to really balance the now and the future, so it's not such a painful process. I think once we remove the conflict interest inherent in the compensation incentives, we actually think that helps a lot. And most of our clients are actually quite happy to know that our advisors, firstly, to know that our advisors are fully salaried, and secondly, to experience them as having no hard sell in the real. So we are looking at sort of professionalizing the advice and really putting in high standards to assure clients and that they can feel safe with us, right? And in various ways, including in not having hard sell, and so the process becomes more comfortable.
Okay. Yeah. So just in case the audience don't know, when Chuin Ting mentioned about conflict, is that a lot of the financial advisors are compensated by sales commission, right? Which means if they manage to push more products or at a higher quantum, they usually get more money. So what Chuin Ting is saying is that MoneyOwl advisors are not paid by commissions, but they are salaried employee. So by selling more product, it doesn't increase their pay. So that is the removal of the conflict.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to add on and try and answer
please.
your question on, so what is MoneyOwl? What is our role? What are we trying to do to change things, right? I think it has got a lot to do with our whole philosophy of planning. I mean, if you come to the MoneyOwl website, sure. I mean, if you want to buy insurance today piecemeal, you can. If you want to do investments without any planning, you can. If you want to write a will, anyway, our will writing is free. You can do all these things piecemeal, and we are fine with you doing that. But if you ask us really, would that make MoneyOwl happy? Not really, because what actually we would really like you to do is to embark on our comprehensive financial planning journey. And if you have embarked, and some of our clients have embarked on the financial planning journey, you realize a few things that are very different, right? The first thing is the whole planning methodology, the whole retirement planning methodology is very different. Those of us who are planners out there, if you've done your CFP, you will know that the Certified Financial Planner program that teaches you retirement planning always starts with finding out how much you want at retirement, and based on how much you want at retirement, they calculate the amount of capital that you need. Right? That's very typical way of how financial planners will plan. But this way of planning has a few problems. Firstly, if you ask people how much they need 20 years down the road, very few people can give you a very accurate answer. I mean, how would I know, right? And how much I think I need today may not be what I really need 20 years down the road. The other problem with this approach is that I'm assuming that I will live until then to enjoy my retirement, which may not happen, right? So if you have tried the comprehensive financial planning service, you'll realize the way we plan is very different. We try to balance what you want or how much you want to spend today, balancing it with how much you want in the future, because we believe that life begins today, not at retirement, right? So that's a very different approach. And also at the foundation of the whole planning is based on CPF for Singaporeans, because we all know, like it or not, my good friend, this Lou, right? The famous Lou, 1M65 guy, he used to joke that, you can don't like the government, don't hate their money, because CPF, right, is there, right? The government give you very high interest, right? That's the basic foundation. And when we talk about CPF planning, like what Chuin Ting has said, it is not about CPF investment scheme. No? It's not about taking your CPF money and investing it. It is first starting from looking at your CPF, how you can optimize it, how much your CPF will give you first, and then you plan over that. And if you think about it, right, how many advisors will spend a lot of time? Honestly, if we honestly ask ourselves, I'm not saying there aren't, there are obviously people who will do a good job in that, but how many advisors will actually spend a lot of time first talking to you, spending time of CPF when you don't make money selling a CPF product? Yeah, but the financial planning philosophy of MoneyOwl starts from there, because we are trying to get people to understand that, when you do financial planning, it is not about just buying an insurance, about investing. That can wait. But start having a plan first, then you build from there. I think that's what we are trying to do. And I hope people get it, because financial planning is not sexy. It is more sexy to go to a robo, invest, talk about returns. That's a lot more sexy. Talk about markets, talk about different ways of investing. That's very sexy. But the boring financial planning is not, but it's key.
Okay. So when you mention about complimentary, does it mean anyone can just go onto MoneyOwl, put an appointment, and get their planning done?
It's no longer complimentary.
Yeah. But it's still at a reduced introductory rate of $99 for the planning. Yeah, for those with deeper planning need. And I guess just so Chris mentioned earlier on, that financial planning has nothing to do with product. This is one of the reasons, right? Because there's actually it's about first getting your budgeting right, which is your income minus your expenses. And actually we talk a lot about people's income, because most important financial asset. And CPF, if you think about it, if today maxing out your ERS, your enhanced retirement sum, could actually give you, as a couple, maybe $4,000 per month for life, right, from age 65. So perhaps for some people, especially in our target market, maybe there's no need to buy products, on top of that, if that is sufficient for you. So I think what we try to do in our planning is to show you that picture, and then you decide. So you decide whether you want anything else on top of it, or perhaps you're quite happy, In fact, we do have some clients that say, I think I don't need so much income, so what do I do? And that is the balance that sometimes we can talk through with them.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that actually $99 is not expensive at all. It's actually very cheap in order for you to get a very comprehensive financial plan without any conflict of interest, without the fear of getting sold. And which means
I feel very cheap.
I mean, value, not cheap, value.
Value. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So bang for buck. Okay. So those of you who have not get your financial planning done, please hop on to MoneyOwl, right? And just, it's just a very small investment, $99. Okay. And you can get your a very unbiased kind of view about how you can plan your finances going forward. All right. And which means what I'm hearing is that is a totally redefining of what financial planning means to most people, right? And it's always a lot tougher if you need to shift mindset, right? It's a lot easier to sell them whatever they already think there is out there, right? So what drives you guys to want to pursue this, right? Why do you want to be so different in the finance industry, right? Why don't just be like everybody else, just be the norm and earn the money, and be happy with your lives?
Purpose, passion, Okay, jumping back to the CEO.
Okay, so I would like to confess I did not wake up one day with either a great business idea or even looking at the gap in the market and saying that I want to do this as a social mission. I did not plan this path myself, to this, because it is actually, for myself, I started in the public sector. So I worked in Minda for 9 years, doing something very different. I was doing defense relations, kind of foreign affairs like stuff.
I think all of us are from defense.
In some way, one way or another. Yeah. One of the biggest employers, yeah.
Sorry, please go ahead.
Yeah, then I accidentally slipped into fund management, and then I went into the social sector. And so how it happened is that I would say that at my very first meeting with who is now MoneyOwl chairman, she was saying that, I have a financial advisor who tells me about investment, but I'm wondering about the ordinary people, who don't have much to invest. Would anyone bother about that? Right? So we thought about this. Okay, maybe this is something that NTUC could do, because after all, NTUC is all about serving the underserved needs. Because then thereafter, I joined the NTUC Enterprise, doing corporate strategic projects as well as looking after the financial services cluster. Of course, it was mainly insurance. After that, I moved on to the shareholder, which is Singapore Labour Foundation's IPO, and I thought I was going to have a very nice retirement job in the tech bot, and then we had, but then I think both the NTUC leaders as well as the government leaders encouraged NTUC Enterprise to relook at this idea, of advice. And I would say at the time, there's nothing to do with robo, there's nothing to do with fintech. It was just really about advice for the ordinary workers. And because you really see the gap, and it's not the first time. Actually, Chris will tell you that it's been on the minds of many even regulators and all that, and in the industry since the time when he started Provident. But how do you crack this for the mass market? But I guess it was the right time and space. And I was at Kena Arrow like they say, to be the project leader, even though I was out of NTUC Enterprise. And one thing led to another, and I began to see then that really, as I did my research, there was a problem. And one of the main symptoms of this problem was that I could not find a partner. I could not find the subject matter expert to help me in building up this what I wanted to do until we came across Provident, whom we saw new because of the good reputation of the work that we've done. So that's how it came together. I would say so that's my kind of accidental and sort of reluctant entry. But I would say that generally speaking, it's important for us that we spend our time doing something that has a confluence between what we may be good at, what is challenging, and also what can make some kind of difference, even in a small way. And I think that brings meaning to life and meaning to work. Otherwise, work is a means to an end, and that's all.
Yeah.
Maybe Chris can add how he had come into this journey. Yeah. Must be that I'm very perspective lah.
Well, I think I've always have a heart for the mass market, because I feel that the mass market is the market that they don't get the best advice, really. And when I started Provident, the business model is such that we mainly have to serve the more affluent market because of the model, right? We charge a fee, and it's not we have to charge a reasonable amount of fee for us to be able to survive, and we're not taking commissions. We give up all these commissions, right? But honestly, for the man in the street, they may not be able to afford the fee. They may not want to pay the fee. And truth be told, they may not really need to pay a fee because their financial situation is a lot simpler. They do not need complex planning. So this whole idea of conflict-free advice, when we first started it like almost 20 years ago, we could really only help the more affluent. But then how about the people whom are not so affluent? So, since I started in the industry, I have been very actively involved in all the financial literacy programs, Money Sense. I was told by MAS that, I've been involved in Money Sense since the first year they started. It's been as long as that. And I've been involved, as you know, in the various media outreach, whether it be radio, TV. But these media, they are not really reaching out to my kind of clients. They are reaching out to the man in the street. But the problem is this: I can go out there and deliver a good talk, but there is no execution. Oftentimes after the talk, the people will come to me and say, "Hey, Chris, you talk about this, right? So how do I go about doing this? I can give a talk about, hey, most of the time you don't need a whole life plan. Most of the time you only need a term plan, right? And then they say, okay, I want to buy. So who can I go to? I know that if I send it out, they might not exactly get a term plan. But I cannot do that work because I'm not built to serve that market, right? So when this whole idea of MoneyOwl came about, for me personally and my founders at Provident, it is our way of being able to serve the man in the street. We don't have that skill to do it, but MoneyOwl has that skill to be able to serve this market. And in Chuin Ting's word, whatever she said just now about being comprehensive, being competent and conflict-free, that can be manifested through MoneyOwl. I think this whole area of comprehensive planning is still very lacking. You just have to go to Seedly or insurance discussion or all the various platforms out there, and you see people talking about advice, and they are very, very piecemeal. Right? I looked at it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, we talk about insurance and people are talking about this to buy and all that. Yeah, but that's very piecemeal. You are looking at it from just one product, one perspective. The whole idea of being able to, because the thing, Alvin, is that when you make one decision in one area of your life, it impacts the other. I don't know how many people realize that. Yeah. Sometimes you talk about buying whole life plan is so good and it's so good, and you should cover your service area. But people don't realize that we all earn a limited $1 a month. And that $1 a month has to be used for insurance, retirement planning, many, many other planning, including living a life today, right? So that piecemeal approach, it doesn't work. You need a more comprehensive approach to do that. And I think that's what we hope to achieve for the mass market through MoneyOwl.
Okay.
So if I add, in that sense, getting it right, because if you buy an unsuitable insurance that sucks up a lot of your money. Now, if you're very affluent, you're earning 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 a month, or you have a lot of wealth, your quote unquote financial mistakes is not going to cost you a lot. But if you have in the mass market, normal people like us who have to, if you are committed wrongly, it can actually bring great financial hardships. If something happens to a breadwinner, or your underfunding of retirement can actually become a much more serious problem. There's a huge human cost, social cost.
Okay, so Chris mentioned that Provident is to serve the more affluent ones, and MoneyOwl is to serve the mass market. And one of the reasons was that because Provident has to charge a reasonable amount of fees, then it's not suitable for mass market. But what makes the economics for MoneyOwl possible?
The economics are based on scale. So it is that given where we are as an NTUC social enterprise, as Chris said, right, that we know how to serve the mass market from our heritage from the NTUC side. And we do have the reach and the power of the group and the network. And so we are obviously not there yet, right? We are really obviously not there yet, but we have that the confidence based on our heritage to make the economics work. And I guess the other part of it is that our two corporate shareholders have the wherewithal and the what do you call it, the Chinese, the
resolve.
Yes, yeah, to make it work, because it is for their purposes, and what is this purpose? This purpose is actually a social purpose, right? And it's not, we're not trying to sell the company off, we're not trying to make an exit, so I guess that's the support that we are very grateful to have as a company from our parents.
Okay. And those who are hearing, I think they are more interested in their own personal financial planning questions. So if you have, please just type them in. Maybe if we have time later, we can get Chris and Chuin Ting to address some of these questions that you may have. Okay. And I just have another question, is that you mentioned that you have a lot of advisors who has to be certified, right? They're getting the CFP certification. But if I think in their shoes, right? So why would I want to join MoneyOwl, potentially getting lesser pay than I would being a commission-based kind of advisor, right? How do you then change or attract these talents to join MoneyOwl?
It's like so troublesome, is it? Must get certification and then get less pay and then do many more
Yeah,
things.
exactly. It's like do more things but get less pay. It doesn't make economic sense to the individual, right? So
I
how,
think
how
I
do you
will.
convince?
I'll let Chris answer that because he's been on this side.
I think the way we attract, that's how I always see the industry some almost 20 years back. I mean, I really look forward to the day whereby this industry, the title of a financial advisor is accorded the same respect of an accountant, of a lawyer, and of a doctor. We are very, very far from there. But that's my dream. That when people talk to a financial advisor, they give us the same respect. But to be able to win that respect, we first have to live up to it, right? So if you look at a lawyer and you look at an accountant, you look at a medical professional, what makes them different? Besides having a similar standard of practice, is the way they carry out the business. I mean, I cannot imagine, okay, Alvin, if you think about it, a lawyer going on the street to do roadshow. I cannot imagine a doctor setting up a roadshow and doing survey. I cannot imagine that now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting down those people doing it. It's a tough job. And they probably have been asked to do it. I'm not sure how many people actually like that. I seriously don't believe most people like to go on the street and chase after someone and prospect for business, because it's not a nice thing to be rejected, right? I mean, a professional is one that sits in the office, he has got knowledge, he has got the experience, and he's able to dish out advice without feeling that need to have to close a sale and sell a product. Now, not that sale is not important, not that revenue is not important. I just had a friendly debate with someone on Facebook on that. It is important, the revenue is important, but it is how you get the revenue that is important. So for MoneyOwl, we hope that the advisors that join us, they realize that this is a career whereby they have a chance at least to practice as a professional. You don't have to go out there and do all these things. You don't have to do cold call. Again, not that they are demeaning, not that, it's just that, I don't want to do it because I want to be a professional. I want to spend more time giving advice rather than chasing sales, right? So what we make them do is they stay in the office, they get to meet the clients come to them for advice, they have to be properly certified. We overtrain them, not just in area of investments, on CPF, on insurance. After even you know that, you need to integrate this knowledge into knowing how to do financial planning. So we overtrain them. Hopefully these people, when these advisors, when they look at MoneyOwl, they can look at us like, yeah, I have always liked to give financial advice, but I just don't like the way it's being done. With MoneyOwl, it is possible. It is possible that I have at least a chance to be a professional going out there and without having the need to push a product, without having a need to close a big case to survive, because they're all paid salary, right? Yeah. And as a result of that, actually, sometimes I think advisors don't realize that the lesser we feel the need to sell something, the more people will be willing to buy from you because they trust you. And it's just good business sense. So the revenue comes anyway without the need having to want to quickly close a product. Yeah, so I don't know whether I answered that question, but I think that is what we are hoping to achieve with our group advisors. Yeah.
Okay, so it's more of to attract them in the kind of profession, as you said, right? The kind of degree of competency, the kind of branding that they want to associate with to join MoneyOwl, right? So I guess Okay, enable to build trust, right? So, is there any like challenge to do your advisors get poached? Because you overtrain them, they become very competent. Do people come, hey, join me, you can earn more money? Do you have this problem?
We don't see yet, lah. Haven't.
Not yet lah. I think they are too busy to answer.
Not too busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I
that's a good problem.
I would not okay, if I want to think about it a little bit larger, then if this means that eventually the industry have more and more people who are MoneyOwl trained, I think that's a good thing, right? In a sense, it makes a loss to us. But if we are the benchmark, and in fact that is where we are looking and where we are motivating our advisor to be, it means something to be a MoneyOwl client advisor. It means something, right? And what does that mean? And I guess we always need to have some belief in mankind, right? That basically people are motivated, not solely in one dimension, and I think that's true. I think everyone needs to find a meaning in their work, otherwise sustainable. It's just, even if you say if it's motivated by money, then the next advisory firm that offers you the highest commission and you go. So I think we have sufficient people who want to be professional financial advisors, who want to help people through finance.
Okay, that's good to hear. Let's talk a little bit about the state of finances of Singaporeans, right? So, what do you see as maybe we start with who do you think is the most financially vulnerable group, right? Don't talk about those that are, let's say, they are really very poor, they are just below the poverty line and things like this, right? So, other than them, who do you think are the most vulnerable group at this point in time in Singapore?
Yeah,
that really needs financial planning.
Thanks, Alvin. I think if we exclude the lowest income, I think we see in the statistics that if you're first to 20th percent, you do need free transfers, right? So financial planning is not suitable for this group. But beyond that, I was just thinking after crossing this threshold whether or not it is actually by income that we rate. It seems intuitive to say that those who are financially vulnerable are those who are lower down, but perhaps not so simple as that. What does financial vulnerability mean? In a sense, financial vulnerability means that if you are financially vulnerable, you are actually not very resilient to shock and when risk materialize, and in particular your well-being, ability to maintain a basic level of living, or a lifestyle that is acceptable to you is not resilient to issue. So there's probably some correlation with how much you earn. Is probably not correct for correlation. So what is financial vulnerability? What are some symptoms of causes? How you look at it? I think probably maybe 3 areas of people in the mass market whose lifestyle exceeds their means. I think if you have that kind of profile where your lifestyle is far exceeds your means, basically your expenses are beyond your income, you have no savings, you have no emergency fund. I think that's something that we are seeing the importance of during this COVID crisis. That is the one thing that I think makes you financially vulnerable, whether you're in the 50th percentile or you're in the 50th percentile. There's always a way of living that beyond your means. The second one is if your income generating ability is not resilient. And by that, I mean both skills as well as, say, lacking protection, insurance. And number 3 is in terms of indebtedness, which I think is also really related to your lifestyle.
So it sounds like a lot of these problems are self-inflicted, right? It's not that the world is unfair to them, but they just happen to spend more than they earn. They don't want to save money, and something happened to them, and they cannot.
I think that would sound like a very kind of pro-Trump kind of right wing thing. I don't think that that might not, because people do have but I still think that there are ways to manage this, and a lot of it is in mindset as well. Having the mindset of being positive and being willing to upgrade, But yet at the same time, there are people who need help, and that's where DPM, Senior Minister Tharman, he made that famous speech, right? That Singapore system is like trampoline, right? You still need a safety net to catch people when they are down, but at the same time, you want to enable people to bring as far as possible. And I guess that's the Singapore system, and we sort of subscribe to that.
Okay, so I guess what you mean is that relatively, okay, so it could be a case where there's a low income person spends more than what he earns. Then there also can be someone who is high income earner but also spend more than what he earns. But relatively, the low income person will be more vulnerable, right? In that sense, because the high income earner can always easily cut down expenses a lot faster than someone with low income, because probably he's buying really necessity, right? How much more can I cut? And raising that income is actually a very important thing, right? I raised this was because I saw a report from DBS, right, where they went to survey their own customers, which is a very big customer base. And somehow I realized the most vulnerable group during the COVID crisis was based on their report, right? I gathered is the people in their middle age, right, 30s, 40s, low income, and they have less than 1 month of savings, right? So I don't know. And if let's say they have a lot of children and parents to look after, which is actually the sandwich class at that kind of age range, would be very, very tough on them, right?
Yeah, I suppose that is one that is not their fault, right? In that sense,
Yeah,
right?
that's not their fault. Yeah, that's not their fault. Yeah. So I guess that is, I don't know whether you guys agree that is the most vulnerable group, or is there another group that is even more vulnerable than this?
I think they are. And truth be told, I mean, honestly, whilst it is easy for us to say that the people whom are low income group, they spend more than what they earn. But sometimes I think that if we put ourselves in their shoes, right? I mean, why are they like that? I mean, there is really very little motivation to save if you are low income earner. Life is miserable. I mean, firstly, they may not even have enough to make ends meet. I mean, that's one. For those that barely break even, I mean, what is the motivation? Actually, what is the motivation for them to save, right? I mean, if I save $10 a month or I save $100 a month, which is a lot to them already, it's not motivating at all because my money is growing so slowly. At the end of 1 year, I only see 1,002. And things, I mean, it's like that, right? I'm saving so little and I can only enjoy this money 20 years down the road. I don't even know whether I'll live so long. And life is so miserable now. I myself spend now. I forget it, I just spend now. So actually, I can really understand why they behave like that. And to make things worse, I mean, our industry, who really want to go and serve these people? They have no money to invest with you, right? I mean, if you look at out there, people are always talking about what is the minimum investment amount, right? Even with robots today, you have minimum investment amount, right? In the past, you only hear about minimum investment amount from the private banks. Or what's the minimum to start an account? $5, which is $5 million US. But today, even with the robots, which is supposed to be meant for the mass market, we're talking about minimum. So these people actually needs the most help, but I don't think they are receiving enough. And even though at MoneyOwl, I mean, if you look at our investment, we don't really, our minimum is a joke, it's like $100, right? And why are we doing this? Because it's a social enterprise, it's a social mission, right? We want to be able to enable people who not just have the money, but people who may not be able to save that much to at least hopefully save something. Now, but I have to be honest, even to get people to save 100 is not easy, but at least it's a start. Don't make it so difficult for them to save. So I think that is the group that probably the most vulnerable and need help. And Elvin, before I pass to you, I just want to thank all those people who commented. Just in case they think that we never see their comments. Thank you so much. I think we have Bev, we have Tiam Hing, Richard is my client, so hi Richard, and Lee Ann as well. Thanks so much for that affirmation. I just want to thank you all for commenting. So keep the comments coming. If you have questions, please, keep it coming.
If you have any financial planning question, please feel free, and Chris and Chuin Ting are more than happy to answer them. All right. We were talking about the the lower income group, right, and saying that probably some of them would have a harder time to save money and things like this. And I don't know about you, but I realized that those people who really need financial help are the ones that won't go and seek out for financial help in terms of planning, right? There was one scenario where I was talking to the Money Sense people during one of the CPF events, and they were asking, how can we reach out to the the people who are not who needs more financial literacy, but they are not actively looking for it. So I was suggesting one of the best place is the 4D gambling outlet. Probably there's also research that's shown that people of poorer or lower wealth, they tend to want to gamble because, as what Chris say, right, that's meaningless. If I save this much, right, there's nothing changed. But if I bet on this, I can win 2,000 times, 1,000 times.
At least got hope,
Yeah, exactly, right. At least got hope, right. But these are the people who constantly get trapped in this cycle, right? So I'm not sure how can we then help these people. We can't stand there at the 4D outlet and, hey, you're gonna give flyers, you'll get punched in the face. So how can we help this group of people then? Yeah, I mean, we may not have a solution because I also don't have a solution.
I think we are in the process of thinking of a solution to help these people. But it's early days, and this is really us being a social enterprise trying to see how we can help the people who really need help but may not have that knowledge and may not have that resources to do it. So we are thinking about it very seriously.
Okay, well, that's good to hear.
Yeah, for now, we have done some work with the unions, for example. The NTUC we have done some work with them. There are a few challenges in the workplace. For example, the rise of economy previously, freelancers and all that. So we have done some things, and that's something ongoing. Like Chris says, we are looking into it. So for this time during this period, recently we did a repricing. So we basically lowered our investment fees for everyone looking at the situation, looking for more investors. So those are the investors who are prepared to invest. Our comprehensive financial planning remains at the introductory rate. But also for those who are maybe under stress, we have also started a series of financial resilience workshops, where it's of everything, management, retraining, and all those. And we hope that can some way towards helping at least settle that, the cash flow management. I know.
Okay. So Chuin Ting, you mentioned about unions, right? So Tatian in the audience is asking, do you guys also work with credit counseling or other social workers?
Currently, no, but of course we are in contact through, because like in Money Sense, I mean, we know the credit counseling people, and we have done financial counseling on the side. We have some people, but it's not our core business. Because obviously, it is not. It's actually a little bit different, right? The different.
Okay.
Yeah, I also want to say that at this moment, the way we are set up, we are hoping to help people prevent, or we are trying to help prevent them from getting into trouble in the first place.
Yeah.
When they have gotten into trouble, currently MoneyOwl is not set up for that, right? And so they are really already in trouble. Then for us, referring them to credit counseling, pointing them where to go is definitely a possibility. There are a lot of good things as a social enterprise we should do, but I think we first also have to realize that we are not a charitable organization, right? We don't receive, like, people don't give us money to run this. These things cost money, right? And the company is very young. We are barely 2 years plus years old. And I think it is also very important for us to be financially viable. But it is the DNA. The DNA is that for now, we want to make sure that we run a viable business. And so if you're out there, you should make us very successful, because once we are there and we are successful, then can actually really pursue a lot more of our social mission, which is to help these people. That's the whole purpose of a social enterprise, right? Otherwise, we would have just set it up as a private company.
For profit, yeah.
Yeah,
okay. Fair enough. Right. So those who are hearing, right, if you want to help right? The mission, please head on to MoneyOwl and get your finances sorted out, okay? And we were talking about all these different demographics, right? I don't know whether you guys are comfortable to share what is a typical client of MoneyOwl. What does he or she looks like? If you guys are comfortable to share.
Actually, we are very much in the broad mass market, so we
Okay.
monitor this.
Yeah.
The slightly more male than female.
Okay.
The,
Do you have a reason for that?
It's interesting. It seems that men think they are better at financial planning and they're richer at finance. So
Okay.
I think, but that's quite consistent. I think, Chris, like over the in Singapore. Yeah. They tend to have families. Those who are most concerned tend to be maybe about 35 onwards, right? But we do have a range. So because we have various services, so we do see people who want to try out, people who actually want to do some serious planning. And so there's really a range. But we are very much in the broad mass market.
Okay. Because just now we mentioned about, usually people get triggers, then they look for financial planning and things like this. So there isn't a common trigger that drive them to, no, I should take care of my finances right now.
Well, there are the typical ones that we do see, in terms of when they have a child, and but sometimes it's just that people realize after a while they don't like, say, the insurance portfolio, or they find out that there's a better way of doing things, or they are interested when they read on maybe places like Dr. Well and in Seedly and in communities where it's kind of an alternative source of quote unquote advice. And people start to realize that there are different ways of doing things, and sometimes they come to us to check it out.
Okay. And another thing is that because it requires a perspective shift, as you guys emphasize, right, since the start of this session, that financial planning is something that's more holistic, comprehensive, and if someone really want to do it properly, you have to look at all angles. And how can we educate people about this? How can we educate people that we need to redefine what financial planning is in your head? Right? Otherwise, you will have a lot of issues that you see on social media, a lot of not really very correct kind of thinking when it comes to advice solutions, right? Maybe to make it easier, is there would you all even make it like a courseware for people, to really understand this process? At the end of the day, whether they want to really do it by themselves, it doesn't matter, right? If they say, I think too much trouble, let's give it to a MoneyOwl. Right? Because I guess it requires a bit of education, because I always believe that financial education is not like shampoo, where my grandmother can go to the supermarket, buy one bottle, go back. She knows how to use it. But when there are services or products out there, most people would need the education to bridge that gap to even know what they mean and how they can help them, right? So I just off my head. Yeah.
I mean, it's a very tough question. And I was saying that just now that I don't know the answer. I think it is something that everybody is trying to figure out. I mean, you were talking about Money Sense, right? How long has Money Sense been running?
10 over years?
10 over years. And I can't even remember. It's definitely more than probably 11 or 12 years already. And
probably around the 2000 financial crisis, right? If I'm not wrong.
2009, yeah, thereabout. And I don't know whether my Money Sense friends are watching. I mean, we are really honest with ourselves. Do you think that financial literacy will change behavior? Honestly,
tough.
It's tough, right? It's actually very tough for financial education to change behavior. There was a study, and I always quote this study, by Professor Bernazi from University of California, LA. And in the earlier days, he actually did a study in the US about whether financial literacy will change behavior. And the truth is that they found out that it couldn't, right? And he suggested that the best way actually to change people's behavior in saving is just to put them in a defined contribution scheme, force them to save.
Like CPF.
Yeah, like CPF. But people, I mean, people don't like it, right? I mean, all these things about CPF and all that. But the truth, again, if we are honest with ourselves, is that for a lot of people whom are, we talk about the more vulnerable, and all that, right? I mean, their biggest pot of gold is probably in their CPF because they can't touch it, and every month they contribute towards it. So I don't really have an answer to that, except that at MoneyOwl, I mean, we try to do our bit. I mean, we write enough articles. Hopefully, people will read. Of course, not the people who are vulnerable. People who are a bit more educated, they will read it. We do webinars like this, and hopefully, when they come and they see us, this is where the advisor's job is to change their perspective. I think sometimes we don't realize the importance of having a human advisor. I never ever believe that 100% robo can do the job of providing good financial advice, because there are a lot of things that the robo cannot understand. Human beings are just too complex for a robot to understand. And that is why since day one for MoneyOwl, we always say that we are human advisors augmented by tech. The tech is just there to do the things that tech does best: fast processing, creating portfolio, answering risk profile questions. But that's the easy part. The harder part is actually the human advisor engaging the client, changing perspective, changing behavior, and then make use of the tech to invest. So hopefully the human advisor will make that impact. And I don't just mean MoneyOwl's human advisor. I think all the human advisors out there in the industry has a role to play. I mean, if your role is just getting people to buy a product and designing asset allocation and just investing, you are not playing your role. That is not the role of a financial advisor. If that's your role, then we will be easily run over by robots.
Okay. So I get what you mean, right? Like even going back a little bit, like you say that financial literacy will not help. That reminds me of something. Like everybody also know that to have a healthy body is to eat less, exercise more, right? Everybody knows that, but how many people actually do it is very little. So it could be a case where people can be very financially literate. Oh, I know I need to save money, I need to invest, I need to buy protection and things like this. But at the end of the day, they may just not do it and end up watching TikTok, cat videos or whatever, right? Because those are a lot more interesting than
instant gratification. You enjoy it straight away.
Yeah, so I guess that is probably, you're right. There isn't a really good solution to solve it. Is that human behavior. And you also mentioned about advisors bringing a different level of service to the client. It's not just concept, right? It's not just financial planning concepts, but also the human touch, right? And to really gauge, right, what do the customer really want? And like what you mentioned, changing perspective, educating, and this, so far, I think technology unable to do that yet. So, which means human advisors are here to stay for a long time to come.
As long as we do our job well. And the one thing I wanted to add to that is, I think it's something that we always propagate, right? That in life there are three decisions you have to make with regard to finance: financial, investments, and life decision. And a good advisor is there to help you balance between these three decisions: a financial planning decision, an investment decision, as well as a life decision. And just now we talk about, making the choice to enjoy life today is part of a life decision, and it is not wrong to make this decision like that. And I don't think robot can understand that, because many of the life decisions that we make, logically it may be wrong. From an investment perspective, it could be wrong. But if we see money as an enabler, then a life decision cannot be always wrong. It may be illogical, but the whole purpose of you making that decision is for you to live that life, right? So what if you get lesser returns, right? So I think to be able to balance those decisions, I cannot see a day the robots will be able to take over us, because it takes a human to understand a human. It takes a human to understand, to have compassion, to have empathy. robots will not have that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me maybe summarize, all right, because it will probably help the audience understand the differences that MoneyOwl will bring to the table as compared to other services that are out there. And just want to emphasize the first point is MoneyOwl is about comprehensive financial planning, right? Because a lot of the alternative robo advisors out there, they are mainly focused on just investment. Okay, so financial planning is broader than just investment. There's insurance, there's also budgeting, there's also mapping your life goals and your investment goals and your financial planning goals together, right? And they have human advisors. They are well trained, overtrained, right? They have CFP certification, and they are paid a salary. So which means they have no conflict when they do your financial planning, because they are not compensated by that sales commission, which most of the advisory firms out there would rely on that stream of commissions, right? So that is the non-conflict part. What else did I miss out? What's the second C that you guys have? Competency, right?
Competence, yeah. Comprehensive, competence, conflict free.
Yeah, so competence is also covered, right? Yeah, advisors are well trained. I hope I've summarized correctly. And they are social enterprise, which means their mission is to help the masses and not about maximizing their profits. And they have grand goals really to help the more vulnerable groups in Singapore. And please support them. They have a comprehensive financial planning service at $99, all right? It's very affordable for the masses. Okay, so if you do not like hard selling, I think MoneyOwl is a place to go. Okay, I hope I got everything right. Anything else I missed out?
Thank you, Alvin.
I think you got it all. And since both Chuin Ting and myself, we are here, right? We'll say that if you ever go and see a MoneyOwl advisor and you ever feel like you are being pushed for a product, come and tell us, because we can almost guarantee you that it will not happen. That is not in our DNA. I think my advisors are also watching. You will never feel like, wow, I go through a financial planning process, means I must buy something. This will not happen at MoneyOwl, and it's our promise to you.
Okay, so anyway, I guess Chris and Chuin Ting are very helpful to the public, and if you reach out to them, they are more than happy to help out and answer you, right? Taking their precious time to really serve the public. So thank you. It has been a pleasure speaking to you guys, and I now understand a lot better what MoneyOwl stands for, and I believe that the audience are also a lot more aware, and hopefully some of them would definitely take a look at their own plans, right? That's for their own good. Okay, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chuin Ting.
Thank you for having us, Alvin.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Alvin. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.